Let's go!
There's a Japanese video that someone did of FF7 Remake and a compilation of reactions, but told in the vein of a story. It was actually the same way that I made, this one. It's just kind of cool to know that even people overseas are feeling the same way.
Big old press event for who knows why. Shinji Hashimoto's on stage at the PlayStation Experience. He's smiling.
I talked about this not that long ago, and I forgot that Kyle mentioned the exact same thing in 2014. Like, his description of what happened at this event was exactly why everyone felt so crushed. Why everyone felt so incredibly crushed by this moment. Which was like your heart being ripped in half at this announcement.
And this is a bad trailer. This is not good. This is stupid. It seems insulting. That is not what anybody wanted. That is a PC port. Don't do that. It made so many people mad. It made this idiot mad. What is so frustrating about that is that Square Enix doesn't know that that is not what we wanted. That's not gonna get us excited.
So, it's hard to convey, like, it's a little hard to convey any other game that would elicit this kind of reaction, right? It's a little difficult to explain to people why so many people had the same fucking reaction. Like, why so many people have this insanely profound, tear-jerking moment that sort of just encapsulates an entire giant theater of people and everyone across the, like, why, how the fuck does this game do that? And I think FF7's kind of a special game for a lot of people, and I'm gonna say from a very personal level, I didn't play RPGs, right? I didn't really play a lot of video games with story. With a lot of story before Final Fantasy VII. FF7 was the first game to do that for me. I wasn't into the whole, like, Knights and D&D and all that stuff as a kid. I thought that was, like, nerdy bullshit. I just didn't like it. But for a lot of people, and including myself, it was the gateway to video games being a narrative. To you getting attached to characters instead of just playing a game for the sake of, like, playing a game. Like, I like Guile, you know? He's Guile and he's cool. But now, like, you're attached to a character, and what makes that character a character? What makes them appealing in some way, similar to the way people, like, got attached to Star Wars or something like that. So, the reason why FF7 does this to so many people is because for a lot of them, including myself, this was the first time, like, you lived a game with characters. This was the first time you experienced, like, a journey with characters, and you didn't feel like you were just watching a movie. You didn't feel like you just were a part of something that was there and then it was over. You felt like you were there with them, you know? You felt like it was some shit it was like connected to you. And for anyone that was, like, growing up or a teenager or younger around this time frame, the first game that's like the gateway to these kind of games is a pretty big one, right? That's a big thing. Like, your first experience with that is going to be pretty profound. And luckily, Final Fantasy VII is still a pretty good game. Like, FF7's characters and storytelling has so many crazy twists and turns and memorable moments throughout the whole game. It's still genuinely a really good game that's very, very, very holds a lot of memory for people, but it's also a genuinely good game. So you feel like it was like a part of your life, right? You feel like you were fucking there. And for a lot of us with that first experience having such a profound impact, which is why people talk so highly about Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI, because they were the big games on the console before it, right? The Super Nintendo had experiences like this, and this is why people are so fond of FF6 and Chrono Trigger, because they were introduced to it at the time, but FF7 was the game that took it from being this niche thing that was on a Super Nintendo to suddenly it being a worldwide phenomenon, right? It became something like the RPG was no longer this weird sort of perspective thing that I had, which was like, oh, this game is like sort of nerdy and weird and knights and D&D. That was my perspective, and I feel like FF7 was the turning point. It was like, well, suddenly RPGs are now a thing. Because, yes, some of the other games might be technically better, like Chrono Trigger and 6 might be technically better games, but this game went out of its way to get people interested, to change things, to put it in a world that was different than the worlds that you had seen before, and make it as visually splendorous as it is. We played it. I mean, I even remember hearing about FF7, I'm like, that's dumb, I'm just gonna play Virtua Fighter, whatever. And then I was at a friend's house, and he was farming for chocobos. I didn't even play FF7 when it came out, right? I wasn't even a part of that. But I was at a friend's house, sitting on a couch, and he was just grinding for gold chocobos. He was just trying to get a gold chocobo in FF7. And he was going through some parts of the game, and I could not forget the music. He's like, he actually told me, dude, the music in this game is incredible. And I'm like pretty young, right? I'm like very early teenage years. And it made me really realize, like, yeah, the music makes you feel shit in this game. The music has this very dark, very moody. It was just different than the video game music that I liked before, which was like Killer Instinct stuff, right? I had the Killer Instinct soundtrack, so I made like a connection that video game music is cool. But when FF7 rolled around, it was like the foreboding atmosphere of the whole game was just, especially because what was he doing? He was running around the world map looking for chocobos. He was running up and down tracks and shit. The world theme of FF7 was just like, wow, this is like hauntingly crazy. This is neat. I wonder what this is like. And since I had never played RPGs at all, it was my first adventure into it. It was my first time actually trying. And gripped from the very start, like from the very beginning of that game all the way to the end. And then I spent all my time to just do all of it. And I loved it. I'm like, this game is incredible. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, everything about this game is so... I've never experienced a game like this before. And that's why this is happening. Because it isn't just me. So many other people that are now younger, older, in their 30s, potentially in their 40s, in their 20s. This is why it's like not a lot of younger generation kids, people that might be like teenagers to early 20s. It's not as much. You get people that are like around their late 20s to potentially their 30s that feel this way because this was the game to do it, man. This was the game that brought you in and introduced you to a world. And that world was self-encompassed and had music and had characters and had drama and shit like that. And that's why FF7 resonates really hard. That's why people get super emotional about this shit. It's amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing. But I can definitely agree why a lot of people would feel the same way. This is why this is happening. This is why an entire fucking stadium of people is just losing their goddamn mind when Remake came on screen. This is why people are just losing their fucking shit. Because this was the game. This was the game you had to play. If you had a PlayStation, you had to play Final Fantasy VII. It was a very, very small chance that if you had a PlayStation, you weren't playing Final Fantasy VII. That's my story of why I think Final Fantasy VII does this. This is why people are inclined to make videos about just the story of how this game makes people feel. So the thing is, these guys knew the same thing that we did, right? Everyone heard the day before E3, anyone that's like an E3 attendant, which I've been for like these guys, and we've all been going to E3 for almost 20 years, right? Everyone heard the day before this conference, Final Fantasy VII Remake is getting announced. And I'll tell you, nobody believed it. That these guys maybe heard about it, that there was a lot of stuff flying around the day before. Nobody fucking believed it. We're like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then this pops on screen, you know?
Oh my god. No.
The promise has been made.
This ain't a movie? No.
This ain't real. It's gotta be like a movie or something.
No. Go.
This shit is fake. And the weirdest, the weirdest thing about the trailer, if you go back and watch it, which is why I am truly convinced, is it a great, like, video game trailer? I don't think it is. But if you go back and you listen to what the narrator says, there is stuff that's even more meta-relevant to people being Final Fantasy VII fans, much less to where Final Fantasy VII even is now. To, like, the game essentially going dark for years, for like 4 years or something like that. And it still has stuff, if you hear it and you talk about it, and you actually put it in the perspective of what's going on now, it's crazy. It's actually like, it feels like it's talking about being a Final Fantasy VII fan. It feels like it's talking about being connected to those characters. It feels like it's directly reflecting like what's going on with every single person watching this trailer. It's a brilliant fucking trailer. It's a bad game trailer, but it's like the narrator is echoing everything you're fucking feeling, right? It's echoing everything you hope might be true and you don't know is true until Remake comes on screen, and that's why everyone flips out. That's why when this moment happens, everyone loses their fucking mind, because the trailer is setting you up. The trailer is telling you that it's setting you up, because you don't know if it's gonna be a movie. You don't know what the hell it is. You've been hearing about this shit and hoping that it's been a thing for so long that you have no idea what the hell is going on. And then by the time the remake pops on screen, it's revealed. This is what it is. It's brilliant. It's like, it echoes the same kind of like developmental prowess the game has sort of been going through. Like the stuff that we've seen of the game, the stuff that people have played of the game is like, oh my god, this game feels like it's made by Final Fantasy VII fans, right? Like this shit feels like it is created for Final Fantasy VII fans. And that's the way the game like currently feels. But this trailer like feels the same way. It feels like we're gonna grab you and we're gonna rip you in several emotional directions all over the place until the reveal that it's actually Remake. It's a brilliant trailer. If you go back and you listen to the narrator, it makes sense now, even with FF7 being gone for a while and then suddenly coming back. Anyway, that's my Final Fantasy VII spiel. That's why this game resonates so hard with people. And that's why the remake reveal trailer was so good. That's why this is like one of the, in my opinion, just one of the greatest moments in video game history is this shit.